All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to DES-240 Information Design. I'm Bill Sweeney, your instructor, and well, I hope I can make this a fun and informative course for you. What I would like to do tonight is I'd like to start off by talking a little bit about information design and infographic templates. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody here with me as of yet. Maybe somebody will show up. So I don't exactly know whether you know anything about using infographic templates, or whether you've actually ever created any or even know anything about them in Adobe Illustrator. So it puts me in a position where I pretty much have to act as though you don't know anything. So I'm not trying to be insulting, but that's the way I'm going to proceed. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to point out that I'm going to scroll down on this. This is my discussion. This is our discussion information. And I guess before I do that, what I probably should do is just point out to you a couple of very important things that I want you to take note of. Your initial post must be in by the end of the day, Wednesday of this week, which is going to be the 7th, March 7th. So by March 7th, you need to have your initial post in by the end of the day to get full credit. If you get it in late, I'm sure by now you know you'll still get credit for it, but you will lose points due to lateness. Now, there are instructions further on down here, which I'm not going to look at just yet. Maybe we'll get to them later. You can read all this information yourself. So you can really get a sense of what these are like. And then you're in a 200 level class now, so I'm absolutely certain that you guys have been through the discussion topic thing before. So none of this should be complete shock and awe to you. Now, the other thing that's absolutely critical for you to understand is that you do need to reply 2 times to students by the end of the day, Saturday, 11:59. And I would like to point out at the very beginning here that I would very much like you to try to respond earlier in the week and not wait until the end of the day, Saturday, to put the discussion post in, the replies in. And I have a very good reason for that. This is supposed to be a discussion post. And what you putting in your 2 posts Saturday at the end of the day, what that tells me is that you don't really have a great deal of respect for the whole concept of a discussion post, because obviously Saturday you put your replies in. You don't give anybody, including myself, any opportunity to reply to your post if they choose to do it. So out of respect for the actual post and to show me that you really care about what you're doing, I ask you to try to post your replies as early as possible. Okay, totally up to you. You're the one that's taken the course. I'm the instructor. I went through undergraduate school. I went through graduate school. I know what it's like. It's a nightmare. But the bottom line is the best way to get grades is by putting a little effort into it. And all I'm asking you to do is to put your effort into it. I'm here to help you any way that I can possibly help you. Believe me, I'm more than willing to do that. But again, as I say, you have to put the effort into it. I did, and I got my my master's degree. A lot of work. I got my undergraduate's degree, which is similar to what you're doing right here. That was a lot of work, and I understand all that, and I understand that you have a life to live as well. But again, as I say, you have to be able to budget your time. You have to be able to get this in if you really want the grades. Okay. So again, I don't want to beat this up or anything, but that's just my feeling, and I just need to point this out because I know that this is something that I deal with every class that I have. I deal with people. Some people are very good at doing this, do things in a very timely manner, put a lot of energy into it, and impress me. And other people kind of aggravate me because I get the feeling that they're just kind of doing it. Some people don't even bother doing it. I've had people come in and just put a main topic post in half-heartedly with no images attached to it, with no titling, with no citations. And what does that tell me? What do you think it tells me? It tells me that you really don't care about me very much as your instructor, and you really don't care about this course very much. And I would be honest, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think you'd be very annoyed if you got the feeling that I didn't care about you, and if I didn't care about this course, it would really annoy you. It really would. So again, you know, that's really all I got to say about it, but I have good reason for saying that. All right. I'm going to shut this video off right now. Let me just do that. All right. And there we go. And what I'm going to do is I've produced 2 topics. One of them is on topic, which is the pros and cons of infographic templates. That is what the principal discussion is this week. And I'm going to scroll down for a second to where I put my first one in. Now, what I want to point out is this is one of the reasons that I do this is obviously because I have to enter into the conversation with you, but it gives me the opportunity to show you how I would like to see you do this. If you notice, the first thing I have is DES-240 information design. And then I put my name, Bill Sweeney, and then the title, About Infographic Templates. What I would very much like to see you do, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, your instructors are going to love you if you start doing this. Melissa, how are you tonight?
Late because I couldn't figure out how to get in here.
Melissa, you're familiar.
Yeah.
What class was it you were in?
Who knows? Probably this one.
No, didn't I have you in another class?
Do you teach another one besides this one?
Yeah. I didn't have you in another class?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I just don't remember which one it was. I'm taking this one for like the 3rd time now, I think.
What are you doing?
I'm taking this class, DES-240 Information Design, for the 3rd time.
The 3rd time?
Yes, I think this is my 3rd time.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to make it easy on you so that you won't have to ever take it again.
Oh God, I hope not. I don't have to.
All right, you show up to the class, Melissa. You show up to the class, and you work with me, and you ask me questions because as you came in, I can see you came in a quiet space. You can have your mic. You ask me questions. I'll do everything I can to help you not have to take this class again, because I'm sure you don't want to do that.
No, I need to pass it this time.
Good. Well, we'll do whatever we can do to make that happen. What I'm discussing right now is my first post, which is about infographics. And what I'm explaining is basically I would like to see everybody title their topic. It's professional. And it should be done. And how I'd like to see it done is DES-240 Information Design, your name, my name's Bill Sweeney, and then the title, About Infographics. I would really like to see everybody start doing this. And guess what? I am absolutely certain that if you start doing this, not only will you impress me, but I promise you that if you do this in all cases from this point forward, you will impress all of your instructors. And I mean this in all sincerity. Now, the other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to point out that I did something a little bit different for my citation. I've indented my citation, and I've made it in italics, and I've colored it. Now, the reason I did that is obviously so the citation stands out. I know everybody puts a citation in, and most of the time they just include it as part of the body of their copy. It is my opinion that when you cite something, you should highlight it. And remember now, we're all graphic designers here. We got to start thinking graphic design when we do things. The more you think about and the more you act as a graphic designer, even in something as simple as preparing a paper like this, the more of a graphic designer, or I should say, the closer you come to becoming a full-fledged graphic designer. These little things are part of your process of becoming a graphic designer. Does that make sense, Melissa? Are you there still?
Yes, yes. I'm sorry, I muted myself. I had to unmute.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. And then the other thing, I just highlighted some stuff, but you know, again, that's just me doing that. Again, the most important thing, in my opinion, would be to title your papers, and where you're going to use a citation, I like to make the citation stand apart from the body of my copy. And all I'm saying is it's probably a good idea for you guys to start doing that as well. It will make your paper look more professional. It'll organize it better, and I guarantee you, your instructors will appreciate it if you do that, okay? So this is my topic about infographic templates. We're going to talk more about infographic templates, and I'm actually going to play around with them a little bit tonight. And we're going to talk about our assignment tonight. And then tomorrow we're going to go into creating infographic templates, and we're going to go beyond that and see how to customize graphic information or information templates. Okay, so that's kind of where we're heading. I don't think I'm going to read this right now, but what I am going to do is I'm going to go down to another topic that I put in here. And again, see, I've done the same thing. What is info design? I actually got this in the wrong order. It should be DES-240 information design, Bill Sweeney. This should be underneath this, but it doesn't matter. If it's like this, it's better than not having it. And I actually incorporated an image that I created, and then I talk about what information design is. So information, and again, I don't know how much you know. If you took this course before, you know a little bit about information design then, don't you, Melissa?
I know a little bit, but not, I didn't. I made it through like 3 weeks of each time of going through it, and it just, my whole world each time it messed up.
All right.
Yeah, I know a little bit.
Yeah, all right, let's try to make it easy for you this time. It's never going to be completely easy, but I'll do my best to work with you to make it possible for you to make it happen. How's that? Does that seem fair?
Yes, that's great, because maybe I'll get it this time.
Yeah, we'll try. Information design is the detailed planning of specific information that is to be provided to a particular audience to meet specific objectives. Now, I wrote this essentially so I could discuss this tonight, but I also, instead of putting this in, a lot of times what I would have done with this is I would have put this in my announcements, and I decided instead to put it in with the topics. So if anybody wanted to comment on it or critique it, discuss it, it's in there with the discussion forum, okay? The information designer may or may not have available or may create an information architecture that defines the overall pattern or structure that is imposed on the information design, and an information plan that defines information units and how they are to be completed. Essentially, that's a whole lot of fancy words to talk about organization of your data and your imagery to tell a story. That's essentially what all that means, okay? So I don't want you to look at that and watch your eyes glaze over. That's really what we're doing here. We're taking data and visual information, packaging it to create a single story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I actually got me a screenshot of that so I can take that and reread it. And
what are you talking about, this?
Yes, like you
don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. What I'm saying to you is that this is in the look, this is where our discussion is. Yeah, yes, it's there for you.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
You can go back and look at it anytime you want.
Yeah, but if I have it with me on the screen on my desktop, it helps me sometimes better to just go there.
All right, well, that's fine. That's no problem. So modern life is saturated with complex information and data. Now, let me just say something about that. Thank God. And the reason I say thank God is if modern life wasn't saturated with complex information and data, there would be no work for us as graphic designers. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
Right. So the bottom line is, the more information, the more data, the more stories that have to be told, the more work there is for people like us. So really, that's what this is all about, really. And again, I'm trying the best I can to more or less bring this into reality. What is our reality? Our reality now that we're in a classroom, we're talking about things in a classroom. But what's going to happen is we're going to get out of this classroom after we learn whatever it is that we learn, and we're going to have to deal with life. And if life doesn't have anything for us, then why are we here? So at least here we're seeing life is saturated with complex information and data. It's a very true point, and that is what makes it possible for us to go and apply and get work, because the work is there to get. For information to have impact, it must be easy to find, simple to use, and instantly understandable. So if you've ever heard the term keep it simple, stupid, have you ever heard that? It's kind of a joke, but that's a term.
I heard Miss Tara Krause and last month tell us it was keep it simple, sunshine.
Yeah, well, they say it many ways, but there is a very powerful truth to this. One of the things that we have to do as graphic designers is we have to learn how to distill information down to its basic form, keeping it as simple as possible, giving people the facts, giving people the information in a way that they're not going to have to do an awful lot of thinking about it. A lot of people think, well, you know, graphic design should be very complicated. Not true. It should be very simple, it should be to the point, and it should be relevant, and it should be honest. Okay? In short, information needs to be designed. And again, that statement says it all. If there's a lot of information out there, if there's a lot of data out there, it needs to be designed. Thank God for that. If that weren't the case, we would probably all have a lot of trouble leaving our school and going out and finding work, because there would be no point. There would be nothing to do with it. So the output of an information design is sometimes expressed in written instructions, plans, sketches, drawings, or formal specifications. So one of the things that we're going to be doing this week, and I don't know whether they changed this course the last time you had it. How long ago was it when you had this course before, Melissa?
A couple of mods or so, not long.
Okay. All right. So the first thing, this is the assignment this week and next week. It's a two-part assignment. You're going to be creating a poster based on data. So if you read what it's saying here, the output of information design is sometimes expressed in written instructions, plans, sketches, drawings, or formal specifications. All of those words relate to what you are going to do this week in your assignment. Essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to write a very brief paper. Have you taken the course where they've done the mood board yet?
No, I don't think no mood board, no.
Okay. Well, anyway, what the mood board is it's a combination of elements that tell a story about a project that you're going to work on. What we are doing this week is sort of like a mood board. What it is, it's an outline that expressed through written instructions, some sketches, some images, and some possible specifications, what you're going to do in your poster next week. Now, I've done a version to show you what it looks like, and I'm going to show you that later tonight so that you have a pretty good idea of what it is that I'm expecting you to do. And you can kind of use mine as a guide to create yours. Okay? Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
All right. On very small projects, information design is likely to be much less formal. What that basically means is that there's a scope to every single project that you work on. Some projects you're going to work on are going to be incredibly complicated. And when that's the case, you're going to have to be dealing with a lot of information. And these written instructions, plans, sketches, drawings, and so forth might become very lengthy and very involved. However, not every project that you're going to work on is going to be complicated. There are going to be some that are very small, very minor projects, thank God. Otherwise, your mind would explode if you had one horrific project after another. And you're probably going to be able to get away with a lot less information formatting before you go in and start working on your project. And as I say, Melissa, if you have a question at any point through the course of the night about anything I'm doing, you know, feel free to sing out and stop me and let me address it for you right then and there, okay?
Yeah,
okay.
I will. Thank you.
Now, virtually anything written or drawn falls under the heading of information design. So essentially, if you write something, there's a form of information design. If you lay out something, or if you create something, a logo is an example, that's a form of information design. both traditional offline documents, advertisements, marketing collateral, technical documentation. So, you know, you could have like a technical sheet, a sheet that explains how you do something technically. Do you know what I'm talking about when I mention that? Like instruction sheets or something?
Yeah, I call them like a schematic layout of.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of
that's
like
right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. That's what I'm talking about. You know what marketing collateral would be, right?
Well, you're gonna get me on that one.
Marketing collateral involves any piece of marketing material that works to promote a product or a service, a brochure possibly, some sort of a mailing piece like a postcard, okay?
Okay, I get it.
That's a piece of marketing collateral, okay? And it is a form of information design. That's the whole thing. So what they're trying to tell you here is that even though the word information design may sound a little intimidating, and it might sound a little bit foreign to you because you probably haven't heard a lot of people talk about information design, it's incredibly common. You know what advertisements are. You have web advertisements, correct? You've seen web advertisements, haven't you? And you still look at magazines, don't you?
Yeah.
And you know that magazines are chock full of advertisements, aren't they?
Every other page.
There you go. So in fact, all of this falls within the classification of information design. Okay. So the reason I'm talking about this is I want you to get a sense of balance into what it is that we're doing here. Okay. Now, also included in information design are websites, product user interfaces, and online help centers. All of these things and even more fall within the scope of information design. It seems reasonable to assume that any type of information should be carefully planned and executed in order to meet the needs of the target viewer. There's a viewer for every single type of material that we talked about. A viewer is a person who is going to come across and look at your product. And you, as the designer, have to be careful in your planning and execution of whatever you're doing for whatever media type you're working on. So if you're working on something that's going to be an advertisement in a newspaper, you have to make sure that you do something that is absolutely correct for that media type. A piece of collateral, what you do for the collateral should be correct for that particular piece of media, that media type, that printing media type. A website, if you're working on a website, you have to make sure that whatever you do is appropriate for that particular media, which is web, and so on and so forth. Information design can be applied to a single work, such as a city map or a corporation's entire set of customer information. So what that means is you could do something simple as one single piece, or an entire set of company information that scans every single type of media that the corporation might be using. So it all, again, falls within the scope of information design. All right? Does this make sense so far?
Yeah, it does.
The output may be part of an information plan, a separate information document, design document, or simply the designed object or a set of objects. While in the past, information was designed for a single output, say a printed document, today information is designed for multiple outputs. So what I'm saying in this particular sentence is that, go back to my beginnings. I started doing design work for advertising and marketing back in 1971. And back in 1971 up until, I don't know, I guess it was 1990 somewhere in there, there was no such thing as computers. There was no internet. There was nothing. So none of the marketing media that exists today that have been built around the computer existed. So back then, the only sort of output or media device that was available were printed documents of one kind or another. There were many kinds of printed documents, but there was no internet. There was no web. So today, the information is designed for multiple outputs. Today, you have a situation where although printed documents might not be as prevalent as they were back then, they still exist to a large degree and are still being done. But information is also being distributed through media outlets such as the web. So if you're a designer and you're designing objects for a company or a product, you have to take into consideration the fact that you're probably going to create something that's going to be printed, and you're going to create something that's going to be put on the web. And that makes sense too, doesn't it? I mean, the bottom line is you're not going to be a specialist, because I don't think specialists, I don't think they exist anymore. I think they probably mostly are generalists today. And the more you know, the more valuable you are. And I think that makes sense, really, right?
I would think so, but not all of us jack of all trades can get paid for it. So,
well, I think ultimately the more you know, the more valuable you'll become to somebody, and that's what really matters. If somebody's going to hire you, it's because you have the ability to do a number of things and not just specialize in one thing. And I think if you go down and take a look at some of my reply posts to a couple of the students that have already put in their main topic, I talk about that in one of them. All right. So traditional products can specifically be delivered on multiple media using technologies to address multiple audiences. So you got print audience, you got a media audience of web. The product specifications can be delivered as a paper-based spec sheet, as a section in a user guide or technical manual, or part of a web page, and even inside the product user interface. Also a PDF, also a PDF form. So all of those are possibilities. Information design focuses on the information itself in one or more information units and may encompass the information aspects of industrial design, labels, physical interface, information, content design, page design, website design, illustration design, typography, decisions, and so forth. So all of these things, I mean, I don't know whether you've actually created labels yet. You probably did in one of your classes, right? Did you work on labels yet, Melissa?
no, I haven't worked on any labels.
Okay. User interfaces, did you do any web work yet?
A little bit.
Okay, well, there you go. You're beginning to get into that. You did some page design, haven't you?
Yes.
There you go. So website design, right?
Creative briefs, all that kind of stuff. Yes.
Yeah. So my point is that some of this stuff that I'm talking about here are things that you'll recognize from other courses that you're in, that you've been through. And in fact, all of this stuff, whether anyone in any of those courses told you this or not, any of this stuff can be considered informational design. So do you understand that? That's my big takeaway from this, is that information design is a lot of things that you probably have done already that you just weren't aware were called information design. Okay?
Okay. That's cool.
So I'm trying to give you new ways of looking at things. Information design ideas are often tested in a usability laboratory by observing surrogate users trying to process the designed information and getting their feedback. Have anybody ever talked to you about the possibility of having a test done on something that was created visually?
Yeah, product testing. Is that what you mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, product testing is part of it, but also product marketing material testing, which is another part of it. But you're right in saying product testing. So that if all falls within
product, an actual product that's made and have that product tested before they actually make all the product and send it out.
Definitely. And they do the same thing with information design. They will bring in groups of people and they will show the groups of people several different pieces that they're considering for their information design. And what they will do is they will ask the people to view these pieces to respond to a certain set of questions and perhaps write down some of their own unique feelings. And what they do with this information is they try to determine the best approach out of the ones that were submitted for the testing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. The practice of information design invites questions into how people learn or prefer to learn and how they use information. See, really what it comes down to is we're very interested in information and how it's used. We're designers, and our role as a designer, we don't go out and look at a landscape and paint a picture of a landscape. Artists do that. Designers take ideas and data and information, and we create layouts, we create designs around that material. So it's very important that the information be central to us as graphic designers. It also raises questions about how to design information for different cultural or other contextual differences in viewers. That's another very important thing. There's a lot of different cultural differences in our country alone. And as somebody who's going to design something, we need to be aware of this. And we're not the only ones that will have this information and be interested in information. And we will be working with teams of people more than likely when we design some of this stuff who will also share these desires and these interests. And our interaction with them will have a lot to do with how our final piece ends up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, everybody has an idea and work with all together on those ideas and make one come together.
Yeah.
True.
Yep, that's very true. Since information is commonly delivered using electronic media with new possibilities for user interaction, and as product designers have become more aware of the importance of usability, a new term, interaction design, has arisen as a corollary of information design. So interaction design is how somebody actually interacts, since we're talking about say a website or some sort of a media that involves the actual interaction with the, because you could say a magazine, there's an interaction design with a magazine. Do you know what that interaction might be, Melissa? If you're looking at a magazine, what would the interaction of a magazine and a viewer be?
The way that the viewer follows along through the layout of the design and what the call of action for that person to do.
Well, how does the viewer turn the pages? You see my point? It's something very simple. That's why I go back to what I say: keep it simple, stupid. Always think of the most simple object or simple answer, which would be if you're looking at a magazine, the viewer is going to turn the page. So there's your interaction. Okay. Yep. But today it's much more complicated because, again, when you get to a web page, there are so many different links going to so many different directions. And where do you want them to go? Well, that's the most important thing. They're going to go where they want to go anyway, but where do you want them to go? And how do you make sure that they go where you want them to go as reliably as possible? That must make sense, right? When you think about it?
Yeah, but you got to make sure you design it the way you're supposed to. And sometimes that can be a little difficult if you...
Oh yeah, design is always difficult. I mean, it's always difficult. But what it comes down to is, as you become more experienced as a designer, it becomes easier because you have experience, and the experience is based on things that you've done that have succeeded, things that you've done that maybe haven't succeeded, and you will learn. I've learned, and I believe that pretty much anybody could do this if that's what they really want to do. So the case of the information designer, by adding new skills, this is what I was saying to you before, the information designer, by adding new skills to your inventory, will enable you to command a higher salary. Why? Because business management understands that they can single source a job rather than having to source, say, a writer, a designer, and a programmer. So if you have skill, being able to write a little bit, and have you ever gone to the writing center here for help, Melissa?
Yes.
I would recommend that you do that if you need help. I mean, I went through a master's degree program, which was 2 years of very complex work where I did, and this is hard to imagine because I went for visual communications. My master's degree is in visual communications. And I went through this course thinking, oh, well, this is going to be a breeze for me because I'm a graphic designer for over 46 years. and I should have no trouble with this. I got in there, and boy, what a surprise I got. I didn't do more than 4 projects in 2 years' time. I did nothing but write paper after paper after paper. And let me tell you, after the first month, I was scared to death because I was never one who had to write a paper very much. And I never had a great deal of practice writing the paper. So for 2 years straight, and actually I finished early. It didn't take me 2 years to do it, but it was a 2-year program. I finished early, but in all that time, I did nothing but write and write and write and write. So I really got quite polished at being able to write because of the amount of time I spent at it. So one of the things that I can say to you is that you can learn how to write. I learned how to write. When I started that course and I realized that I was going to have to write as much as I did, I was terrified because, as I say, I was not a writer. I was not somebody used to doing it. And the instructor that I had was very nice, and he worked with me. And I went to him and I told him I'm scared to death because, you know, I have not written very much. And he says, don't worry about it. He goes, I'll help you. I'll critique you, and my critiques will not be vicious. They will be very helpful. And he goes, by the time you're done, you'll be able to write. So all I'm saying to you is that, you know, I'm your instructor. I'll help you any way that I can. I know what it's like when somebody is struggling to do something because I just went through it. And I mean, I just recently got my master's degree. So it's something that I'm very sensitive about. So anyway, you know, if you know how to write and if you know how to design and if you know a little bit about programming, you're much more valuable. That's essentially what I'm talking about here. In effect, they're getting the work of 3 for the price of 1, and they don't have to deal with the logistical headaches of managing 3 people. The same model is even more appropriate in today's economic environment. So really what I'm saying to you is that the more you know, the better it is for you. Multiple skills make you more immune from layoff. From an employer's perspective, the answer to the question is even more obvious. Who would you rather employ, a person who can perform 1 skill or a person who can perform multiple skills? I think anybody could understand that, right? I mean, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? The more you can do for a person, the more likely they are going to be able to justify hiring you. All right? So what does all this mean? The diverse methods of delivering information means that most companies have doubled or tripled their information design requirements. Well, that's, again, very good for us because the more requirements they have for information design, the more likely we all are to find a job. That sounds good, right? Whether they like it or not, they must now feed multiple media beasts. What they're talking about is they more than likely are still doing print work, and they probably have a number of different media types, such as the web, and maybe they have things like presentations that are being done. That's a different media type. Maybe they have YouTube videos. That's another media type. See, so traditional and print medias and electronic medias, they got all these different media types that have to be dealt with. You, as the designer, if you're able to produce for all those different media types, you become much more valuable. In the long term, this will translate into increased market demand for those of us who possess information design skills. And again, I'm talking about multiple media types of informational design skills. The informational design that I'm talking about encompasses everything that you do as a graphic designer. So that's the key to understanding really what information design is. Multi-skilled information designers can expect to reap the rewards of their skills by increasing their job security, being more competitive, and seeking new employment. Okay, any questions about that?
No, not so far.
All right, good. So I'm going to scroll back up here. And as I said, this is in here, so you can go back and read it. I also did another one here, which talks more about infographic templates, which is the topic at hand. I'm not going to read that. I'll let you read it. But talks about what I believe the pros and the cons are of it, and we get into that a little bit up here. But what I do want to do is, so define and apply the appropriate use of an infographic template. So have you ever worked with any kind of an infographic template before that you know of? Like, for instance, give you a better example. Have you ever tried to make a chart before? Have you ever tried to make a graph before?
Yes.
You have. How
Yes.
well did that go? Did you use Adobe Illustrator?
Yes, I believe that was the class that I did do that in.
Okay. How did it go for you? Okay.
Pretty good. I didn't have too many problems, but I think I would if I wouldn't have had the template.
All right. Well, I am going to start off tonight. Here is some data. They give us a little bit of data right here. Okay. Now, instead of me reading through all this, which is kind of what I normally do, instead of reading through all this stuff, I had a better idea. I thought what I would do is I would come in here and I would take this information and I would use this information to go in and show you how to create a pie chart, which basically goes right back to what we're talking about here, and that is, let me go up to the very top, using an infographic template. Now, I'm going to show you very quickly. Here's two templates that I created in Adobe PowerPoint. I'm not Adobe, Microsoft PowerPoint. You familiar with PowerPoint?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so this right here is it's a bar graph, and it is one of the templates that they have in PowerPoint. This is a pie chart, and the pie chart is what they have, again, in PowerPoint. So PowerPoint has the capacity to offer, I should say, it offers you the ability to create charts and graphs within its interface. And they're similar to what you can do in Adobe Illustrator. The main reason that I don't use them very much, I did use them in this particular case because I wanted to throw together one just so I could show you what they look like. I don't know whether you've ever, do you use Microsoft PowerPoint very often?
No, I haven't used it very often, but I probably will when I go back to get my master's. I mean, my bachelor's. So.
Okay, so have you ever done a template, use a template, a pie or a bar chart template in PowerPoint?
No, I don't believe I have.
Well, I'm not going to go to any trouble of doing it because it is kind of like a little bit beyond the relevancy of what we're doing. I simply wanted to do it just so that you could get a look at the fact that you can do it, and this is what a template looks like. Now, what's the real problem with a template? The major problem with a template is the fact that anybody could do this template. I could give the information to 15 different people, and in effect what would happen is you'd end up with 15 templates that look almost exactly the same as one another. There's your problem. So what you want to do is you want to learn how to customize templates. The most logical thing to do would be to use the template as the basis or the beginning of your project, and then use a program that has the capability of modifying the template in 1,000 different ways. And that program would be Adobe Illustrator. And tomorrow night, I plan on going into that in a lot more detail. But tonight, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a templated pie chart, just so that you get a sense of how it's done, and you have the ability to watch me do it, and I have it recorded so that you can go back in and watch it, and you can ask me questions as we go along, and hopefully by the time we get done with that, you'll feel comfortable enough to be able to go in and try to do it yourself, okay? Because part of the assignment we're going to work on is to put together a presentation for me to give me an idea of what you intend to do next week with your project, which is a poster, which means you're going to have to create either a couple of pie charts or you're going to have to create a couple of bar charts, however you want to go. And I'm going to show a little bit about that tonight, and tomorrow it's going to be a lot about that, okay? So you ready for that?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. You think you'll be here tomorrow night?
I should be.
Okay, good. All right, so let me do this. Here is the information. Here's the information. Okay. 90% of the information transmitted to the brain is visual. 40% of people respond more to visual information than to text. 84% of communications will be visual by 2018. Infographic design increases by 1% each day. Approximately 13 million results on the search for infographic, and approximately 13 million results on the search for, that's a weird sentence, for infographics on Google. Infographics are liked and shared on social media 3 times more than any other type of content. My issue with this chart is right here. These 2 lines right there do not work very well with my data, which is all percentage. So what I would do, how I would handle this, is I would create a pie chart that breaks out this information right here to there, and I would add this underneath to support that. And my title might be something like Statistics on Visual Data, something like that. Okay? So get the general idea of where I'm heading with this?
Yes.
All right. So here's my Adobe Illustrator, and just like in PowerPoint, I have a couple of templates here. These are the 2 templates that I used in my layout that I created. I created these 2 templates to show a basic form of how I'm going to show information in my poster. Okay. And I will probably either show you how to do this tonight or tomorrow night. I'm going to do another one tonight for you. And that is this. Watch. Let me show you. That is this guy right here. Okay. So here are some statistics on visual data. 90% recognize the copy. 90% of the information transmitted to the brain is visual. 40% of the people respond more visually. Right? That makes sense. I just showed you that?
Yes.
Okay. Now here, this is a little diagram. This is a little diagram that I did. It's called a screen capture. And what it is basically is it shows you what I did to create this pie chart right there. See that pie chart right there? See, there's Asia. There is my pie information. There are my tables. Now, if you look at this, you see right here in the first column, you see Asia. And then you see the population right there, the penetration right there, and the table percent right there. And then under it are the numbers. So that is all it takes to create that chart right there. Okay? Now, I'm going to actually do this using this data right there. But do you have any questions about what I just showed you here? In other words, in the first column right there, I put the word Asia. And because it's in that position, it ends up under there more or less like a title. All right? And then I have my headers here, which is the population of the world, population percentage world, penetration, which is here, penetration, percentage population, and table percentage of users, right? And that gives me those elements right there. And then the numbers, which are 55.20, 45.60, 50.20, gives me my pie and my segmentation of my pie. That is the basic method that you use to build that pie chart. Now, I also have a basic method which I will either show you tonight later or I'll show you tomorrow night how I made this bar graph. And I'm going to actually rebuild both of these things tomorrow night for you. My ultimate goal here is to be able to do enough of this stuff. I'm playing around with this stuff. I'm doing enough of this stuff that you can actually watch me do it so that you know when you go in to do this how to go about doing it. Okay? And again, I have no idea how much of this you know at this point. I mean, do you know, does anything that I'm showing you make sense so far?
Yes.
You're okay with it?
Yes, so far.
All right. All right, well, let me scroll over here then, and let's get started. Now, the one thing I don't like about this, oh, and by the way, just so that you know, I have 2 layers here. I created 2 layers. My layer number 1, I have all my information on. My layer number 2 is the layer that I'm going to actually work on. So this bottom layer I've locked. All right, now, over here, I'm going to hide this because I'm on that layer and everything's good to go. What I've done is I've taken out my charting tools. They're located over here. Right here. And if you click, and if you go over to here, see that little tab area at the end of this panel? See where I'm sitting?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
If I click there, what it does is, well, it's already open. Let me shut it so I can actually show you what I'm talking about. I don't know whether you know this or not. I'm going to kind of assume you don't, so I'm going to show it. All right. So
Okay, please do.
if I come over here and if I click on that tab, it brings that entire panel out. Did you know that?
Yeah, I believe so. It just depends on if I remember or not.
Well, I'm just showing you now that that's what you can do. So I come over here, I just click, I go out to my little tab area, which is that lined area with the little arrow. I sit over it, I let go of my mouse, and that brings all of my chart stuff out. And I'm going to dock it over here, and I want to try to dock it. I want to try to do it vertically if I can get it to go vertically. Now it's not going to go vertically. Let me see if I can close this. There we go. Now we got it. Now I can dock it vertically. There we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, now I got a column graph tool, stacked column graph tool. I got a bar graph tool, stacked bar graph tool, line graph tool, and a area graph tool, scatter tool, the pie graph tool, and the radar graphic tool. So all of these tools you probably aren't going to use. You're not going to. It all depends on the kind of information you're dealing with. From my opinion, after fooling around with these, my opinion is that I could get away very nicely with either a column graph or a bar graph or a pie chart for this kind of information. I happen to like the pie chart. Okay, I just like them. I think they're a fun thing to do, and I think visually they're nice. So I'm going to use the pie graph to create this. So to do that, you select the pie graph, you come out here, you click, hold, and you drag to establish an area. See what I'm doing? You see the little red line?
Yes.
That's going to be the live area that my graph is going to fill. And I let go, and I get two things. I get this little icon here, which shows my graph. This shows the graph as I'm going to build it. Okay, so what I want to do now is, the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of this. All right, and I want to go to my second line. Some statistics on visual data. That's what I'm going to type in there. SOMESTATISTICSONVISUALDATA. Now, there is something that I probably should point out to you. The one thing that's a little tedious about working with this particular series of tools in Adobe Illustrator is you literally have to type in all this information. I suppose I could. Let me see if I got my copy up here. I do. I have my copy up here. So I have my copy up here. So what it is possible to do is it's possible to copy and paste it in, all right? But as you can see, I'm not using all the information. What I'm actually using is information transmitted to brain is visual. I guess I should probably use the whole thing. Well, let me try it. Information, let me copy it. Boy, I didn't get it. Let me do it again. Information, copy. There we go. And let's come in here, and let's go to here, and let's go Control V. And I have to actually make that into a capital I. Capital I. Where are you? There. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to move on to my second one here. And let's go to my copy. And my second one would be, people respond more to visual information than text. So I'm going to select that. Okay. Select that. And I'm going to copy it and come back into my information and make sure that that is selected. You see which little cell is selected there?
Wait, that's the third one on the top row, correct?
Right. So in other words, the first one is that one. The second one is this one. And I'm going to Control V. There. And then I'm going to change that to a capital P. Okay, so I have information and people. Now I got that. And I'll go to the third one, all right? And the third one, let's go up to the third one. And the third one is infographic design increases by 1% each day. So I'm going to, oh, actually, I missed it. I'm sorry. That's the fourth one. The third one is communications will visually increase by, there we go, copy. And in the third one, Control V. And then I just want to change that to a capital C. Capital C. So what I'm doing essentially is I'm building the information for the little call-outs. There are little call-outs that sit over to the side. And what they do is they identify each section of the pie. Does that make sense to you so far, what I'm doing here?
Yes. Each one of those little columns, like stone, whatever, it's part of the, it's like the title, and then the information and the people and the communication is each, like,
once this thing comes together, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm just trying to give you some idea of how this information basically sets up within this template. This template is the starting point. That's the whole point. This is the starting point. This is a good way to start. Physically, there are other ways that we could go about doing this, but it involves a lot more work. Now, if you want to go in and if you want to build a template and then walk away from the template entirely and then just go in and create something over top of it and use it as a guide, you can do that too. And I'm going to get into all this stuff tomorrow night. Matter of fact, let me finish this up, and then I'll show you something. But we're going to be working on that tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's going to be just a whole lot of fun stuff with Adobe Illustrator. To be totally honest with you, I have a great deal of affection for Adobe Illustrator. I think it's a great program, and I absolutely think everybody should, become very proficient in it because it's a very valuable program. So let's do the last one here. And the last one here is... oh, that's the wrong one. Here we go, right here. Infographic design increases by 1% every day. Let's just go in here and let's go increases, copy, and let me get this out of here. I don't need this anymore. All right, and let's go into here and Control V. Come on. Oh, maybe I didn't get it copied. Hold on, let me go back. Let's copy it. Okay, maybe I didn't get it copied. Let's try it again. Control V. Oh, what happened? Oh, what is this? Wait, try it one more time. Oh, what's going on here?
It looks like it's like put something in between those communications and the infograph information, or the information.
Oh, you know why? Because here,
it added those two things.
You know, what happened here? Huh. Cut. There we go. And now let's get this one. Delete it. Okay, so I think I might have fixed it. Let's see if I did. Yeah, somehow or other I screwed that up. Not really. I mean, I didn't screw it up. I just messed it up a little bit. Okay, so look at what we got so far. We have some information here. Information, people, communications, and infographics. So you saw what I put in there. I put in copy in here. Now, what I need to do is I need to put the data in. The data that I'm about to put in here is what is going to create for us the segmentation of our pie. So the numbers are going to be 90. So the first one is going to be 90, okay? And then the next one is going to be 40, okay? So it's going to be 40. The third one is going to be 84, 84. And the last one is going to be 1. Now, the 1 is going to be very difficult because 1 is very small. But there is our information. Do you have any questions about what I did so far?
No, that's where you went to that. If I'm not mistaken, you went over here to the tools, you pulled out your tabs, and you hit the pie chart, drew a box, and this box came up, and this is where we put our information.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm trying to make you aware of is that what I wrote in here is going to end up being underneath here. Now you can move it around if you want, but it'll end up being underneath here. These numbers right here are going to be the numbers that segment the pie, and it'll also show little squares that match up with the information, the people, the community, and so here, watch what happens. There, look at that. You see that?
There's your pie chart.
There it is. There's my pie chart. Now watch when I drag this thing over here so they can get it on screen so you can see it. Let me get this thing, close this thing. All right, and let me just take this thing and select this thing, and let's go object, hide, selection. Whoops. There. Okay. The reason I hit it is because this actually ends up being quite big. And let me drag this thing over here. There it is. Now, what I can do is I can come in here at my group selection tool, because this is one unit. This is actually with my regular selection tool. See, this is all one unit. See how all this is one unit?
Yes.
I click on it. It's all one unit. What I can do is I can come in here and I can take my group selection tool, and I can take this information here, and I can drag this information anywhere that I want. So I can move that information over to here. Then what I can do if I wanted to is I can come in here and I can select, let's see if I can drag to select all of this. Yeah, there we go. So I can select all of that, and I can come into my character panel, and this is set to Myriad Pro Regular, and the font size is 30 point, it looks like. So what I can do is I can bring it down in size, and let's bring it down to like 24. Yeah, that's pretty good. And let's go with bold. You know what? Bold condensed. There we go. And let me go to the tracking, and let me take the tracking, and let me set the tracking out to about 10 is probably good. So you see right away, there's a template. That's my template. Whoops, Control Z. There's my template. And if I keep the regular selection tool, the entire thing selects, but I can go in if I want, and I can move these objects around. So here I got some statistics on visual data down at the bottom. Well, what if I want that at the top? All I got to do is get the direct selection tool or the group selection tool, click on it, and bring it up to the top. And then what I could do is, while it's selected, I can get my character panel, and I can start going up in size. Let's go up and make it quite big. Now, make it 55. That's probably pretty good. And let's make it semi-bold. There we go. And now all I got to do is take this thing and center it along. Yeah, so you see what I'm saying? You can actually come in here, and by using the group selection tool, so here's your tools. You got your direct selection tool and your group selection tool. What I'm using is the group selection tool. So there it is. And if I want to just select the whole thing, like I want to move it down, there it is. Okay? So there it is. That is how simple it is to create a pie chart. Really very simple. If I want to continue working on this, I can select this and I can move it over a little bit, and I can get it to look exactly the way I want. There it is. That is a template. The problem with this is that if you have just enough skill to do this, anybody could do this. I mean, that's the reality of this. Anybody could do this. It just takes a small bit of knowledge. Now, what we're going to be doing tomorrow night is, I think it's here. Yeah, I'm going to show you how to do this stuff. This is what I created for my, I created this piece for my, my post. And then over here, I go the other way, I'm sorry. Or is it just this one? Yeah, it is. Okay, hold on, let me go file open. Open, I think I changed it, that's why. Go into information design, week 1 and 2. Info design, internet usage, template, world pop data, which is it? Info design, I think that one's open. Yes, info design. Internet usage, template, world pop data. Let me see which one that is. Okay, hit no. And let me go file open. I got to figure out which one it is. I think it's internet usage. Let's see. No. This is my finished poster. All right, this is the finished poster. You'll see that next week. And let me go to find the file open, and it's got to be template. There we go. Okay, go view, fit, all in window. Okay, so here is what we're going to be doing tomorrow night, all right? I am going to be going through the process of showing you how to do all this stuff. Some of the stuff in here is just basically templates, but then I'm going to show you how to begin to go in and make these templates, basic templates, make them very fancy and very unique. And you're going to be surprised how simple it is. So there's where we're heading for tomorrow night. Tonight, though, I just wanted to give you an idea as to how to approach creating some information, creating a basic chart or a template. If you'd like, I'll go in and I'll show you how to create a graph in a minute. But there is a couple of other things that I wanted to very quickly show you to keep it somewhat simple. Using the direct selection tool, right? The group selection tool, sorry, keep saying the direct selection tool, the group selection tool. Now, why I'm using the group selection tool is because this object is grouped. Now, if I ungroup this, if I go object ungroup, what's going to happen is it's going to notify me that I am going to break the link to my chart and graph data, and I won't be able to change that data. All right? Now, what am I talking about? If I come in here and if I right-click on this, I can come down here. Oh, at first I got to select it. I'm sorry. I have to select it, right-click on it, and you see where it says Type, Data, and Design? You see that?
Yes.
All right. I can go in and I can change the type, which I'm not going to bother doing because I like this is what I intended to make. But I do want to show you that if I click on Data, you see what it does. It brings my data back up. So if I have to change for some reason the data, let's say for instance this number right here, if that number is not 1, but let's say it's 7, I can change it to 7, and then I just hit the check mark, apply, and you see how my data changed?
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring it back to 1 because that's the correct.
I don't eat those words right there.
What?
I said that looks pretty easy. I said I hope I don't eat those words right there.
All you have to do is watch the video. All you have to do is go back in and watch the video, and keep in mind that I have 4 elements going on here. 3 actually, 3 elements. I have this thing here which I'm calling a title. It starts off underneath here, but that doesn't matter. You can easily, using the group selection tool, you can click on it, move it up, and make it as big as you want. I then have this information right here, which ends up being the information that associates itself with the callouts, which associate itself with the different areas of the chart. So in other words, there's the infographic design increases by 1% each day. There it is, that little area right there. Communications will vary communications will visually increase by 2018. That I got to get that out of there. So I can even select that and do this. Watch. See how I can even fix that? You got a lot of freedom here once you get this thing made. You can actually come in here and you can change a lot of this stuff, just making sure you got the right tool, which is the group selection tool. That's the important thing, group selection tool. So basically you've got all this. Now the other thing that you can do, we have our color swatches here. See our color swatches? And we got all these colors in here. Now I don't really like any of these colors. I'm only using them because I'm doing a quick demonstration of something. But what I basically want to do is I want to show you that it's very easy to go in here and to modify the colors of this as well. And again, you know, you're using your direct or your group selection tool. What you have to do is you have to come in here and you have to click to select your object, hold the shift key down, and click to select your object. Now, what I'm doing is I'm selecting the black and the black that coincides with that black in my pie chart, right? You got that? You understand that, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call that red. And you see, it becomes red. The next one here is this one. People respond more to visual information. Going to select that again using the group selection tool. hold the shift key down and click on that, and then I'm going to click and I'm going to make that a nice orange color. It's a little close to that, so actually I think what I'll do is I'll change it to yellow, and that will help a little bit because now it won't be so close to the red. Then I'll click on this guy right here, hold the shift key down and click on that, and I will make that the orange color. And then finally I'll click on this, hold the shift key down and come in and click on that little tiny wedge right there. Whoops, I got the wrong one. Got it now. And I'm going to make that green. So, whoop, I actually messed up. This guy here, I'm going to come in here, and that guy should be the red. So let me come in here and sample the red. Jeez. I keep getting the wrong one selected. Let me get this one. Let me get this selected right. There we go. Now just make it red. There we go. Okay. Okay, so you see how easy that was? Not hard, right?
No, it didn't look too hard.
No. Now, the other thing that you can do is notice that everything has a stroke on it, too. Another thing that you could do is you could come in here and you could select all this stuff, and then you could come over here and you could bring the stroke forward, and you could remove that stroke. And now you no longer have a stroke around those objects. All you have is a nice little bit of color and color over here. So again, this is a template. This is a basic template. This is being, I mean, as simple as it gets. This is what we're talking about tonight, using templates. So I think right away, if you take a look at this, you can pretty much get the idea of what the limitations of a template are. And the reason I'm mentioning this to you at this point is because I want you to understand that when you create a template like this, pretty much anybody could. If you took the same information, Melissa, and you created this template, yours would end up looking almost exactly like mine. I mean, of course, you might choose different fonts, and you may change the positioning of things different than I did, but it would basically look the same. You see my point?
Yeah, it's going to basically look the same no matter how it's laid out.
Right.
It's going to have the same information in it.
Yep. You're limited in your ability to customize this to make this something special. And that is part of the discussion. And that is that, you know, again, as a graphic designer, is that a good thing? Maybe it's not such a good thing. It's okay if you don't have the budget or the time and you need to get the information done quickly. Fine. But the bottom line is, you know, as a graphic designer, more than likely, more is going to be expected from you. And that's where, you know, being able to customize this beyond what I did right here, which is not a lot of customization, comes into play. And that's a very important thing. And that's what we'll be dealing with tomorrow night. We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow night. So what I will do, though, is just for the heck of it, I am going to take this guy right here and, oh, I got to unlock the layer first. Yeah, unlock the layer. Let me lock that layer. And let me take this guy right here and let's go Object, Hide, Selection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can do this chart here. This chart here comes from, where does it come from? Here's my World Data Bar chart. Okay, so here's my World Data Bar chart. This is what I'm creating. See it right here? See how complex this is? World population, look, world population, penetration rate, table users. There are my call-outs for all this information. And these are the continents: Australia, Middle East, North America, Africa, Latin America, Europe, and Asia. Okay? So you can see Asia, Europe, Latin America, Africa, North America, Middle East, and Asia. And what we have here is basically the population percentages, the penetration percentages, and a table percentage right there on each of them. And that's what created this chart right there. This chart would probably not work at all as a pie chart because there's way too much information. However, it works very well as a bar chart like this. Now, where did this information come from? Let me go back into here for a second, and let me go into week 2, and let's see if I can find my, where's my internet user? Let me see, bar graph. There we go. Nope, that's not the right one. I think it's this one. There we go. This is what I used. Okay, this is what I used. Look, so what I did here was I just highlighted one of these things. I didn't highlight all of them, but here's the columns that I'm dealing with. The world region columns, there's my Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, Caribbean, Middle East, North America, Oceania, and then the world total. Population percentage of the world, 16.9%, and so on and so forth. Penetration rate, 35.2 for Africa, and so on and so forth. Internet users, 10.9%, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this right here is the information that I was using to create this chart over here. That guy right there. Okay, so what I will do is I will build that chart for you so that you can see me do it, because it is very complicated, and I just wanted to give you the ability to take a look at this. So let me come in here now, and let me hide this as well. I think I'll probably hide this one as well. Object, hide, selection. All right, and let me go back to my tools. All right, I'm going to stay on my lower layer. Let me go back to my tools, and let me get my, this is my, my column, right? And let me come over here and let me drag out an area for my column. Nice big area for my column like that. All right, so there you go. Now again, the major problem with this is the thing that really is a killer. And that is that you've got to do a lot of typing. So you have to be a little patient with me here, because I really am going to take a little bit of time to type this in. But it's kind of important for you to do that. And as a matter of fact, somewhere up here, let's see, it is that one. Yeah, here we go. Population here. Here's what I'm actually doing. This is what I'm actually creating here. All right. I'm going to close this so I get some more space. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by removing that information from that one. Go to this one right here. And then I'm going to take a look at my information. Where are you? It is, where did it go? I know it's behind here. What I probably should do is, let me do this. Let me get out of here. No, there we go. And let me go File, Place. All right, and let me come into my image data, Place. There's my image data. Okay, so there's my image data. That's good because it's not too big. Oops, I don't want that. No, let me get rid of this. Delete that. Okay, let me move this up and out of the way so I can get this in here a little bit, because what's going to happen is I'm going to have some conflicts here with my panels. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go to data. All right, so there's my data. All right, so did I do that too quickly? Do you understand what's going on here? Even though I didn't get the information in here, doesn't make any difference. I can always go in and right-click on it and go to where it says data, and then my data will come up, and I can start inputting my data. Okay, so you good with that so far?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right, now, remember what I did over here. Look over here. This is what I did. The first thing I did was I put in the population percentage, the penetration, and the table. So look, these are my bits of data. Population percentage of world, penetration rate, percentage of population, and internet users. Now again, please bear with me. There's a lot of typing that goes into this, and I'm not the quickest typer in the world. But it's important that you actually see me do this so that you get a real sense of how to pull this off for yourself, because you're going to be doing this, and I want to make sure that you have no trouble doing it, okay? So I'm going to start off, look at where I am, not at the first one, but the second one, right? And I'm going to type in, now I am going to shortcut this a little bit to save time. I'm not going to go population 2018 EST. I'm just going to go population. I'm going to shortcut it, okay? And I'm only doing that to save us a little time, all right? So that's population. And then the next one is penetration. So this is going to be penetration. And then I'm going to select the third one, which will be users. And I would normally type all of it. Okay, so you good with that so far?
Yes.
Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come to here. This is not the corner one, but one in. And this one is going to be the first one. It's Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, Middle East, North America, and Oceania. So I'm going to start off by Africa. Africa. And then I'm going to move to the next one. Now, the other thing I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to stretch this guy out, okay, so I can get enough space. So Africa, then the next one is Asia, A-S-I-A. And then the next one, which is going to be Europe. Okay. The next one is going to be Latin America, Caribbean. I'm just going to put Latin America. And I am cheating a little bit because of the time involved. It's a lot of typing. Middle East is the next one. Okay, Middle East. And the next one, it looks like I'm going to have to stretch this even further. See, there's a lot to this. And there's no shortcut. There's no quick way to do this. You got to actually, unfortunately, go through North America's the next one. I'm going to just type N-O period, A-M-E-R-I-C-A. Again, I'm shortcutting this to save time. North America and then Oceania. I'm going to actually put Australia. S-T-R-A-L, whoops, L-I-A. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to end with, that's it. I'm going to end there. I'm not going to put the world totals in. I'm just going to put all the, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to put totals in, I guess. What the heck? T-O-T-A-L. All right, total. All right, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of data. Okay, so here they are. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They go this way. You understand? So the first one, which is Africa, right, is, I can't see, it looks like 18.9. I'm going to type in 18.9. Again, if it's not 18.9, it's not the end of the world. I just can't see it very well. And the numbers will be fine. I'm putting in what I think they are. That's, I think, is 55.1. So I'm going to type in 55.1. And then the next one, I think, is 10.8. I'm having a little trouble, like I say, seeing it. 10.8. Okay. 8.5 looks like Latin America is 8.5. 8.5. Latin America. Middle East is 3.3. 3.3. Are you getting this okay, Melissa? Does this make sense what I'm doing?
Yes, sir.
Not hard, right? Not terribly hard.
You make sure you get the right information in the right little square.
That's all it comes down to. It really is nothing more than just understanding where the information needs to go. And once you have it in that place, it's going to create the chart for you automatically. And then once you have the chart created, you can begin the process of customizing it. But it just comes down to placing it properly. That's all it is. So I've done it a few times now. I don't do this a lot. I don't actually get to make too many charts, but I've done it enough at this point that I kind of know how to go. And I've actually created these little guides here because I thought the visualization from these guides would help you a little bit. You know what I mean? To be able to see what's going on before we actually do it. So now I'm at Australia, and Australia was 0.6, I believe. Gee, I can't hardly see that. Yeah, I think it's 0.6. And then our total, we reached a total, which would be 100%. So that would be 100.0. I don't think I actually even have to do that, but let's do it anyway. That's the first column. That's the population column. Now, the penetration column. So we're going to go back and do this again. The penetration would be 35.2, 35.2, okay? And then Asia would be 48.1, 48.1. And then Europe would be 85.2, 85.2. And Latin America would be 57.0. Is that it? Oh, I can't really tell you. 67. I think it's 67.0. Again, as I say, it's not the end of the world if I don't get the numbers right. 67.0. And again, the only reason I'm having trouble with it is because it's kind of small. Maybe if I Hold on. Yeah. See, I screwed up. I shouldn't have done that. I really shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have tried to. Let me go back in and let me get this out of here. Let me go back into my data because I can go in and I can continue working on my data. All right, let me go back in and work on my data. There we go. Okay. So Middle East is 64.5. 64.5, and I think I'm going to have to stretch this again, stretch it out to there. There we go. Okay, so North America, what happened? Middle East, I missed it. Middle East is 4.5. 4.5. Okay, and then North America is, oh God, I can't even see that. Is it? I can't see that. 95.0. That's what it is. 95.0. Yeah, this is hard to read these things. And that is 68.9, I think. 68.9. And then let's see, what's that? Total would be 64.4, I think. 64.4. And that's my second row. Okay, that's my second row. This is the third and last row. So that would be 10 point, the first one, which would be Africa, and this is users, would be 10.9. 10.9. And then the next one, Asia, would be 45.7. 45.7. And the next one would be 17.0. 17.0. Very tedious, isn't it?
Yes, it takes up a lot of time.
Yes, it does. 10.5. Yeah, it does take a bit of time, but hey, you know. Oh, I did it again. Yes, I did it again. I accidentally. Oh man, hold on. I got to do it again. There we go. Okay.
No, I don't feel so bad about hitting little mistakes and hitting the wrong button and having to do it all over again.
Yeah, and I lost my Middle East. Let me see. Where's my Middle East? My Middle East was, this is the third one, right? So Middle East is right here, 3.9. Yeah, so it's 3.9. And then the next one is North America, which is, oh God, 8.3, I think. 8.3. And as I say, again, it's not the end of the world if these numbers are not 100% right. They're basically okay. They'll give us what we need. And then let's see, where are we at here? The last one is Australia, which is 0.7. 0.7. And then finally, our total, which would be 100%. 100%. 100.0. Now I can hit that. There we go. And there you have it. Look at that. I'm going to get this out of the way. So there you have it. That is a recreation of that graph. All right. So you saw me do it. Does it seem like something you can do?
Yeah. I'll just keep watching your video until I get it then.
Yeah. Remember, here's the visual. Here's the visual that shows you what the table looks like. Okay. Now on this particular one, I did not include the totals. Okay. I have the totals on this one, but I did not include the totals on this one. Okay. But it basically, what happens is, in your first column, you got to make sure that you indent one. Make sure you don't go to the first one. You go one down and you put in this case, the population, and then the penetration is the next one, and the table percentage, I call it users. I think I put table here, but I think it's users. It's the same thing. And then you're going to go to your first one in and go Asia, Europe, Latin America, Africa, North America, Middle East, and Australia. Now, where it gets confusing is, instead of working this way, you're going population this way. So you're going to go Asia here, Europe here, Latin America here, Africa here, North America here, Middle East, and so on and so forth. The penetration, instead of going this way, you're going this way. That's the only thing you got to keep in mind. When you get done with that, you end up with a nice chart just like this. Once again, what we're talking about and what we're doing here is working with templated charts. This is, you know, what anybody can do. At this point, from this point forward, it comes down to what can you do to doll up your chart, you know? And there are a lot of things that you can do. We'll get into that tomorrow. Do you have any questions at all about anything that we've done so far? Anything you want to ask me?
No, but we're supposed to, oh, okay, does the instruction specifically say for a bar and pie chart?
No. I'm just showing you how to make two of the most common ones, two of the ones that you would probably use. I would imagine that more than likely you're going to use either a pie chart based on the information. I just put that information away. Well, here it is. This is some of the information that you're going to be working with. So what I'm saying to you is some of this information, the population percentage, the penetration rate, and the internet users works out to be perfect for either a pie or a bar chart, either one of them. And it's up to you. I think the reason that I used the bar chart on this is because there were so many of these, and I thought it would be very difficult to render this whole thing using a pie. So I thought in the case of this, where there's this much information, the bar would be much better. That's why I did it. That's why I used it.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I wanted to make sure that we weren't.
No, it's your choice. You can use the
one we're supposed to choose ourselves.
No, you could do it. You could do it any way you want. Now, another thing that you could do. Let me show you another thing that you could do. Here's another thing that you could do. All right. So let me hide this. Let me select this guy and let me go hide. Where are we at here? Object. Hide selection. There we go. Now, another thing that you could do if you wanted to is this. You could come in here, and actually, if you take a look at my piece, which I showed you before, I'll go back and open it. File, open, and let's see if I can find it. My internet usage. Where are we at here? Is it that? Yeah. I see what I did here. I used population, internet users, penetration growth, and user tables. All right, I actually used pies on mine. What you can do is, let's see how I did this. Let me see if I can zoom in and close and take a look at it. Asia, Europe, Middle East. Okay, so population. Let's see, population. Let me see if I can figure out how I did this. I did this a year or so ago, so let's go back into Illustrator. Where are we at? Here we go. All right, so let me go back to here. Let me close this. I don't need that. Okay, so let's see, population. How did I do it? Oh, I think I know how I did it. I did it like this. This is another way you could go. Here's what you could do. You could come in here and you could create your pie chart. All right, create your pie chart. Come in here and create a pie chart. And then what you could do is you could come in here and you could type, get this thing here, delete. And this is going to be, let me just quickly look at and see how I did it. All right, let me go up. So I went population. That's what I did. Population. Okay, that's how I did it. All right, I think I know now. All right, so I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to right-click it, and then I'm going to go Data, and I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to put here population, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in, and I'm only going to do this once so that you can see me do it. So it's going to be Africa, A-F-R-I-C-A, and then the next one will be Asia, A-S-I-A. This is just an option. This is an alternate way of doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Europe. And again, this is good because you're actually getting to see me make another one of these charts, which I I really want you guys to be able to understand how to do this. This is one of the biggest part of these 2 weeks is for you to be able to handle these charts. All right, so we got Europe, and I'm just going to go Latin America. Okay, and then Middle East. Middle East, and then move on to here, and it is North America, N-O.AMERICA, and then the next one, North America, Oceania, I'm going to Australia, 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 and I'm not even going to bother with the totals. Let's go back to here. Okay, so now that I have those names in there, I'll have my call out. So I'm in the population, right? That's what it says right there, population. So the first one is 18.9, I guess, 18.9. And again, the fine numbers don't matter that much. I'm close. The next one will be, Asia will be, I think it's 55.1, 55.1. And then Europe is what looks like 10.8, 10.8. And then Latin America would be 8.5, 8.5. And then Middle East would be 3.3, 3.3. And then North America would be 4.8, 4.8. And then finally Australia would be 0.6, 0.6. And now if I come over here and click the check mark, it applies all that. And now you see what I did, essentially, was I created one of my charts, one of my pies that I used in my poster. This is one of the pies that I used in the poster. That's how I did this. And then what I just did was I went in and I recolored it. I like the green colors. So what I did was I used a green, and then I used a percentage, a lighter percentage, a lighter percentage, and a lighter percentage of the green. That's basically it. And then what I did was I extracted totals and put the totals underneath the bottom. And then I changed the name from population 2012 EST. So I made a few modifications to this thing. And I could do that by coming in here, population. And I could come in here and select and then hit enter. I forget what it was. What did it say here? 2012 EST. So 2012 EST. Whoop. Control Z. There we go. Enter. 12, comma, EST, period. Okay. And then, of course, I could come in here and I could make this thing bigger if I wanted to. You get the general idea?
Yes, I do. Thank you for the extra one. It helped me a little bit more.
I'm just trying to show you. A couple of different ways that you could handle this. And then, you know, like I said, you can click on this and you can use the direct selection tool to select parts of this. And like, for instance, this guy here could be made bigger. I guess it's not going to let me do it that way.
You need the group, not the direct, remember?
No,
You remember you need the group selection tool, not the direct selection tool.
Oh, I had the group selection tool.
Oh, you said direct. That's what I wasn't looking.
Yeah, no, I got it right. And this, I can move this down if I want. Well, actually, now I got the wrong one. This is the one that I want.
I'm sorry.
This one here, like I say, this can go up to the top, and then we can adjust it. This guy here, you can take this, and you can see it doesn't give me the free transform, so I have to scale it. So I'm going to make this 80%, 80, and hit OK. See, and now it's getting to look a little bit more like what mine looked like in my piece. All right, and then using this, I can move it over slightly. Move this over just a little bit. See what I mean? And if I want, I can move the whole thing down as a group, and then I can come in here and I can, whoops, wait a minute, get this with the direct selection tool. I can take this guy, move this up a little bit. Whoops, I still didn't get it. Click on that. There we go. And then the population, I could come in here and I can blow up that population, make that population quite a bit bigger. Here, let's go in and make it. Yeah, let's make it bold. There we go. And let's make it. That's probably good right there. And then this. Let's make that semi-bold, and let's make it 24. 30, that's probably good right there. And let me open up the leading on it a little tiny bit. There. Okay, so that is kind of how I created my one of my pie charts for my poster. That's kind of how I did that. You get the general idea? And then I added that totals across the bottom right there for the information on it. That's sort of how I did it. Okay?
Okay.
Now, again, I'm going to go over this in greater detail next week. This is for next week, but just so that you get a sense, go to the View menu, and let's fit Artboard and Window. There is my poster. This is the poster that I created for our project. Now, do you have to make anything as complex as that? Well, it's totally up to you. I mean, this is maybe, it looks very complex, but in the end, it's not so terribly complex, and I will show you how I did it next week. I'll show you exactly how I did it, and you could try something similar to it. Again, don't have to make it exactly the way I did it, but you can do something similar. Okay?
Alrighty.
Got any questions at all about any of this? Because I'm going to move on. I got just enough time to show you the project.
Nope.
Okay. All right. So you have any questions at all about the discussion? The important thing to understand is the initial post is by Wednesday, the end of the day, and 2 replies by Saturday. And try to put the replies in earlier. Nothing I hate worse is than when people put replies in last minute, because it kind of like destroys the whole concept of a discussion. You can't discuss something that's put in at the last minute. It kind of just suggests that either you just didn't manage your time very well or you don't care very much, you know. And what you're talking about here, the pros and cons of using typographic templates. If you have any question whatsoever about what you should submit, I will show you what I did. There's mine. You can read through mine and you can see what I did. Did I do the best job in the world? No, but I did something that I think is probably fairly close to what you should be doing, talking about the pros and the cons of using templates. Okay? So that should cover all that. You good?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right. Now, what is the project? So here is the project. This is what we're doing, and I probably should just quickly go in and go to the assignment. And let me just get us to the assignment so I can quickly tell you what the assignment is, and I'll show it to you, and then you can figure it out from there, okay? It's not that big of a deal. So finding the story in the data and planning your design. So click on this and analyze and evaluate the technical data to appropriately filter the data for use in an information design piece. Develop a content strategy using problem-solving techniques for presenting data in an effective infographic. So what you're doing here is you're trying to figure out and trying to sell an idea to me about your poster, your infographic poster. That's what it's all about. It is not just writing, because I think some people may get the idea it's just like writing a paragraph of copy talking about, you know, what you're going to do. It's not as simple as that. It's a little more involved, and I'm going to get to it in a minute. Let me get down to so creating your infographic from scratch takes some thoughtful planning. First of all, just like with any piece, you have to know who your target audience is. Infographic is basically creating a visual story from data. So look at what this visual's doing. You see what the visual's doing? It's showing a bunch of things put together to express an idea. That's sort of what you're doing in your paper this week, okay? Just like a good story, an effective infographic conveys the idea in an integrated way. That's what you're trying to do here. I'm going to skip all down to the prompt. For the next 2 weeks, you'll be working on creating an infographic from scratch. Your assignment this week is to develop a content strategy through filtering the data. Filtering the data means nothing more than looking at the data and understanding the data. So if you go to this website, here it is. This is the data. Check it out. There is some of the data right there. Here's your internet usage statistics, the internet big picture, world internet users and 2018 population stats. There's the data. This is where I got that from. And further, you have this chart right down here. You can use as much of this information here as you want in your poster. As much of it as you want. That's what it is. And there's even more down here. See? And it goes on. I guess it ends there. These are just basically references, I think. Yeah. I think you pretty much want to isolate yourself from here up. That's the information that you want to use. That's it right there. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a poster. But this week, what you're doing, let me get out of here. Let me go back. Let me explain what you're doing here. Take the strategic information from the internet usage chart and decide what information you will need to present in your story. So basically what you're doing is you're going to figure out a story for this particular information in this infographic, okay? The chart also links to more specific information that help build this chart. You are not required to use this additional information, but it may help you to form a story for your infographic. So what they're doing essentially here is they're kind of saying, this is the information here that they want you to deal with. And as a matter of fact, just a few moments ago, that was the information that I was messing around with to show you how to make the pie charts and the bar charts, correct? Right? Yeah. So you saw me make those charts. You saw me how I went about making those charts. Part of what you're going to be doing is producing a graphic from around this information. All right. Now let's go on. As you are planning your visual, go to ProCrest Library, search under Arts using data visualization. Be sure to include quotation mark and find at least one article on data visualization that help you to understand how to take data and find a story for your strategy. Here's your instructions. And this is important because I already had somebody submit something to me, and what it was basically a paragraph of copy. That is not what is being asked to be done here. Use InDesign to lay out your content strategy and arrange it so that it could be presented to a client for approval of your strategy. A strategy, guys, is more than just 1 or 2 paragraphs of copy. Melissa, you understand that, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, a content strategy should include the following: a synopsis of the main story you will tell. Look, boom. There is my synopsis right there. For my poster, Internet Usage Statistics, I will be comparing and contrasting, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to delete this right now. I'm going to delete this right now. And I'm going to show you that I've got about 105 words in my synopsis. And what my synopsis does is it gives you an idea of what it is I'm going to produce. Okay? I'll be preparing and contrasting data on the usage of the internet by virtue of different content populations of the world. I will be employing data provided from, and then www.internetworldstats.com. My format will be landscape with an overall background image and a series of visual maps of world continents that are reflected in the data. I will be using black for drama, blues and greens for my overall color scheme. The data will be displayed as a series of percentage-based pie charts contrasted with support graphs where necessary to compare and contrast the population, user penetration, and growth. So what I've done for my synopsis is to give an overall idea of what I'm going to do, not just create a block of copy that talks about internet usage statistics. I'm talking about what my poster is going to be about and how it's going to be done. Did that make sense to you? And can you see how I'm handling this and what I'm doing?
Yeah, you're not just like telling you in like a paragraph what we're going to be doing. We're going to actually go in detail and design that out in InDesign, correct?
Yeah, you're going to come up with some stuff. Okay, so here's the deal. Let me go on with this. A plan for your infographic: intro, data, and conclusion as a sketch or outline. Well, okay, go back to my piece. I've got 3 pages. Okay, here's what I did. I got 3 pages. My title will be Internet Usage Statistics. My subtitle will be the Internet Big Picture, World Internet Users and Population Stats. the premise of my poster. In other words, here is where I'm giving the overall premise of what my poster will be. For my poster, Internet Usage Statistics, I will be comparing and contrast. I'm not going to read it again because I read it to you. Okay, so basically that's there talking about what I'm going to do. Then what I did was I went in and I gave a proposed color scheme. My color scheme is going to be black with cyan, this green, a dark green, and that you can see is the green that I'm using for my pie chart. And I show a sample of one of the pie charts that I'm going to use, and I will also be including white. I then went on to my second page, and on my second page, I simply repeated the internet usage, the title, the subtitle, and then under that data visualization imagery, I show a sample. And again, you don't have to repeat this. I just did it because I needed to fill some space, and I thought it would just make a nice presentation. All right. Then I show one of my charts that I use. This is one of my maps showing the continents. We're dealing with very specific continents. So I went online and I created links. I'm going to get to there. Let me get to there. Here's my background image. I actually went in and I found a background image to use in my piece. Okay, and if you go back to my piece, there, see how I'm using my continents, and you see how I'm using my background, and you can see where I'm using black, and you can see where I'm using that blue, and you can see the dark green, and you can see the light green. So you see how my color scheme is being incorporated into my final piece?
It kind of looks like a creative brief.
That's what it is. It's actually a creative brief. Thank you very much for saying that. That is exactly what this is. Now, the other thing is I'm showing some of the data here. This is the primary data, okay? And then finally what I did, again, I used the heading. What I did was I showed just basic pie charts and graphs, which I would probably be using. In the end, I didn't even end up using this. I only ended up using this. But I put them in there anyway, just so I could show that I would be using them. And these, in fact, are the two things that I just built for you in there, so you could see how I built them, okay? So I kind of tried to do everything I could do to show you how to produce this creative brief. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever done anything like this before, Melissa?
Yeah, I've done creative briefs in other classes, and
Right.
I didn't do one in this class before like this. No, I have not done this.
Okay, can you handle this?
I can handle it.
Okay,
and if I can, I'll keep doing it until I can.
Okay, do you have any questions at all about what I'm doing here? Does it make sense to you?
No. Well, I have one question. Is there a limit on how many pages we are to?
Not at all. You do use as many or as few as you need, but just keep in mind what I'm looking for is for you to give me some idea beyond just a paragraph of copy of what you're going to do. I'd like you to think about how you present the information, how you plan on presenting the information. Do you have a color scheme in mind? If you don't, come up with a color scheme. Let's go back to this. What I did, one more thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into let's go back to my course here, and let me go to my announcements, because this is something that you need to know real quickly. Let's see here. Links for week 1 and 2. You see it? Links for week 1 assessment, links for week 1 and 2. Here we go. Okay, so I have located several links you will find valuable when you work through the first 2 weeks. Give them a look. If you want to take a look at backgrounds, if you decide that you want to do something similar to what I did, here is a link that takes you to a site where there are all kinds of interesting backgrounds that you could use. You could take one of these images and you could create the background, at least partially, out of one of these images. Okay? Does that make sense? You clear on it?
Yeah. I'm glad you gave us that. That looks more interesting to add to the design.
Well, it'll also help you because now you kind of, and here, if you want to go for globes, if you want to incorporate globes, here's a site where you can come in and you could look up globes and you could find the globes of the continents. And I think actually you could probably find one of these sites that have globes showing all the continents like I did. I don't remember exactly which one of these I used, but one of them is in here, the one that I used, and I was able to get every continent out of it. And I think you should be able to do that from some of these links. But you can see right here, I got a bunch of continents for you. So you can go in and you can use continents too if you would like to do that. So I've given you links. that you can use to help you as well. Okay?
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, that's, again, I'm trying to make it easy for you. So, do you have any questions whatsoever about this?
Not yet.
Okay. So, now, what did I do next? After I created these 3 pages, I got my 3 pages here. Okay? What I wanted to do is I wanted to create a link to my background image, a link to my map content, and a link to my data resources. I can't do that in InDesign. However, I can do that when I create my Adobe PDF. Okay? Have you ever created a link in Adobe PDF?
Are you talking about Adobe Acrobat DC?
Yep.
Yeah, yes, I've learned that in the past 2 months.
Great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File. I'm going to go. So anyways, before I do this, you have no problems with what I'm doing here. You're doing a brief, and you're going to have this kind of information. Does it all make sense to you? Have any questions at all about this?
Not yet.
Good.
But if I have any questions, I will not fear to go into the Student Success Center this time.
Yeah, you either send me an email, whatever. But I'm going to be in, just so that you guys know, I put this in the announcements, and I probably put it in the email I sent you. But I am going to be in the Blackboard Thursday from 10 to 12, I think. Friday from 9 a.m. until noon. Mountain Time, and then Saturday from 7 to 12 Mountain Time. Those are my Blackboard hours. So any of you guys want to, you can come in and see me anytime you want there. Okay? And of course, you can call me or you can send me an email. I don't say that I'll always be able to answer, but I will probably be able to answer. And as far as the email is concerned, I will definitely answer an email. So there you go. Okay? So let me do the final thing here for tonight, and that is, let me go File. Let's go Save, Export. Here we go, Export. And it's going to be, I'm going to call this Global Internet User Bill. I'm going to do this one on my desktop because I've actually already produced one, okay? And I'm going to call it Global Internet Usage Bill, all right? And it's going to be a PDF interactive. I'm going to hit Save. Oh, it's on my desktop. Let me hit Cancel here. Let me go. Let me put this one then in my, right there, then hit Save. And all pages, and hit Export. Document, don't worry about that. I'm fine. That's okay too. All right, so now I'm saving this thing as a PDF. Okay, there it is. So now it's open as a PDF. Now let me do a couple of things. Let me first of all get rid of this page here. Wrong one. Click that back. There we go. And let me open this up. All right, and let me go to Globes. There's Globes, and let me go back to here, and let me open up Backgrounds. Okay, and let me close that, and let me close that. Okay, so now I have my Globes and my images. Okay, I need them because I'm going to need those links. So let me go back to my PDF, and actually, before I do this, let me close this. So you're all good with all this. I showed you all this. I'm going to close it up. And
yes.
Hit Save, no. And then let's go here. And clear clipboard. I'm just doing a couple of real, well, I'll leave this open. All right, so get this out of here. Come on, go. Here we go. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to come in here, go to second page, and I want to create a couple of links here. So let's go to, now what's going on? Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to create a link, a hyperlink. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this guy here. Add web link or document link. Let's see here. Remove web link. I think it's, there we go. I think what we're going to do is come over here and drag across like this. And invisible, and I think we're good. Invisible rectangle, highlight style, none. Open a web page. Okay, so you see what I'm doing? Did you do this before, Melissa? You said you did this before?
No, I haven't done that part, but I am familiar with the DC product. So.
Okay, well, listen. What I'm doing essentially is I'm in my PDF. I have this area right here. I'm going to put an invisible rectangle over top of it with no highlight style, none. And the instruction is it's going to open a web page. Okay, so that's the most important thing is when you use this tool, you're going to, let me hit cancel. I'll do it again. Make sure you got it. Click on this, add, edit a web page or document link. Okay.
Yes.
And then you're going to come over here and you're going to drag a rectangular shape around what you want to place the link on, and you get this. So that's how you do it. Invisible rectangle, highlight style, none, open a web page, and go next. And now enter a URL for this link. So all you're going to do is you're going to go, this is the background image. So what I want to do is I want to go to this one, and I'm going to copy the link, okay? Come back here, and you're just going to paste, Control V, paste the link, and hit OK. And now that becomes a link. That's all there is to it. I'll do it again. Let's do it for the next one now. So I'm going to deselect this guy. Or actually, you know what? I think what I'll do is I'll draw the shape first. Let me draw the shape first. There we go. Boom. There we go. Invisible rectangle. Highlight style is none. Open a web page. Okay, so far you with me?
I am.
Hit next. What I'm going to do is go up here, Content, Global, Vector Art. All right. Get the link, copy it, go back into here, and paste it. Control V, hit OK. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Save. Okay. And I'm going to close this thing so I can reopen it. Let me just close it. And let me close this. And I think the one that I was working on is actually in here. Let me double click to open it. Okay, and let's go to page 2. Okay, and what happens now is, doesn't look like much, but if you come over here, look, you can click on this thing. Oh, this one's now, here we go. It's working. Here we go. Come on. Here we go. Okay, it's just being stubborn. There. So you see that? So do you understand what I did?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think.
All right. Let me.
That's why when it opened.
The reason I did this. Here's why I did this. Here's why I did this. I did this because I indicated links. I indicated links. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you, as you would want to show me, where you got your resources from. So here's my background image. There's my background image. So if you click on this link, it takes me to where that background image came from. That's all. Now, same with this. If I come in here, I created, I'm going to use that graphic. I'm showing you where I got the graphic from, linked to this location. Okay. Now, really, they're not the actual locations that I used. I only did this to give you the idea as to how to do this. You understand? I actually, if I really wanted to do this right, I would have taken you to the link where I got the actual image, which was maybe this guy right here. I don't know. It would probably be more like this. So I'd go to visit, or I'd go to view, or let's see what happens when I go to view. See if that's it. No, that's not it. It's not it. There should be an image. There should be one for image. Let's see. Yeah, it's odd. I'm not getting the image. Sometimes
I've noticed that I have not been getting that image button you're talking about. And
yeah.
if you go to, I think it's view saved or saved. I think it takes you to it.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah?
I think so.
All right. Well,
you got to go through that.
Yeah, it's not. Well, anyway, I would rather you go to the image itself. But even if you didn't, if you brought me to the place where the image is, then that's basically what I'm doing. I'm trying to show you how to go about doing that. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
All right, so you think you know how to handle this assignment?
Right now I do.
Okay. All right, well, you know what? 9:03, we're done. Unless you have anything else you need to ask me or talk about, we could call it a night. And tomorrow we'll come in and play around more with charts and graphs and Illustrator in general.
Cool.
Okay?
I'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you.
All right. You have a good night. It was great having you here.
Thanks. You too, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.